The mess hall was bustling with the usual cacophony of clinking trays, laughter, and low murmurs of conversation. The fluorescent lights above hummed softly, casting a stark glow over the long tables where the recruits gathered. Amid the chaos, a single figure moved with quiet precision, a calmness that seemed almost unnatural against the frenetic energy around her. She carried a tray, not too heavy, not too light, and walked with a rhythm that suggested every step was measured, every breath accounted for. Her name was Lieutenant Mara Keaton, a Navy SEAL, though no one in this hall knew that, not yet. To the recruits, she was just another officer, perhaps a visiting instructor, but nothing in the way she carried herself hinted at the extraordinary strength and discipline she possessed. The 4 young recruits, Ethan, Jordan, Malik, and Connor, had been huddled near the end of the hall, joking among themselves. Fresh out of boot camp, they were still in the awkward stage of proving themselves, testing boundaries, and flexing bravado that had yet to be tempered by experience. "Hey, look at that," Ethan whispered, nodding toward Mara. "Who does she think she is, just walking in here like she owns the place?" Jordan smirked. "Bet she's some high and mighty officer. I'll show her we're not scared." Malik and Connor exchanged uneasy glances. Something about her presence, though, made them hesitate. But peer pressure outweighed instinct. They rose from their seats, slowly encircling her tray-laden figure, their shadows converging like predators on prey. Mara didn't flinch. She met each of their gazes with steady eyes, calm but aware, like she could feel every heartbeat in the room. They underestimated her in every way possible. "Hey, lady," Ethan said, leaning just a little too close. "Think you're tougher than us?" The 4 of them laughed, a little too loudly, trying to mask the flutter of nerves they didn't admit even to themselves. Mara's hand never wavered, her tray didn't shake, and then, she spoke, her voice soft but commanding. "I don't want to be tougher than you. I want to help you." The recruits froze. Help them. They had expected confrontation, maybe sarcasm or dismissal, but not this. "Yeah, right," Jordan scoffed, though his voice betrayed a note of uncertainty. "Help us how?" Mara placed her tray down on the nearest table with the grace of someone who had mastered precision under pressure. "Let's see how long it takes you to realize your limits, and how to push past them." Before they could react, Mara moved. And in 46 seconds, their entire perception of her, and themselves, shifted irrevocably. It started with a simple push-up demonstration. Mara's form was flawless. Her muscles moved fluidly, each movement deliberate, controlled, and powerful. Then she called them forward, one by one, guiding them, correcting posture, showing them techniques that would take weeks for them to grasp on their own. Connor stumbled during a maneuver, nearly falling over, but Mara caught him with a gentle yet firm grip, stabilizing him without a word. It wasn't the strength that stunned him. It was the patience, the focus, the way she treated them not as novices but as individuals capable of growth. Ethan, the brash one, tried to challenge her, attempting a handstand push-up just to show he could keep up. Within seconds, Mara was beside him, adjusting his arms, encouraging him, laughing lightly when he tumbled but never belittling him. The laughter wasn't mocking. It was human, kind, uplifting. Jordan and Malik watched in awe, their previous arrogance dissolving. Mara's presence was magnetic. Not because she dominated them, but because she lifted them, showing them what they were capable of without making them feel small. Time seemed suspended in those 46 seconds. Every movement was a lesson. Every glance carried understanding. Every word conveyed encouragement. By the end, the recruits weren't exhausted. They were inspired, energized, and a little humbled. It wasn't just physical prowess that Mara demonstrated. It was empathy, strategy, and courage, the full spectrum of strength that defined a true SEAL. She wasn't showing off. She was teaching, guiding, and opening their eyes to a deeper kind of resilience. After the impromptu session, Mara leaned against the table, breathing evenly. "You've all got potential," she said softly. "Not just in the field, but in life. Don't waste it proving yourself to people who don't matter. Prove it to yourselves." The 4 recruits stared at her, still catching their breath, suddenly aware of a strange emptiness in their previous bravado. Words failed them. Their embarrassment, mingled with admiration, left them in silent awe. Connor finally found his voice. Who are you?" Mara smiled faintly. "Lieutenant Mara Keaton," U.S. Navy SEAL. The words landed like a shockwave. 4 young men, who had just tried to intimidate her, realized they had underestimated someone extraordinary. But more importantly, they realized that true strength wasn't about dominance, it was about generosity, discipline, and humanity. Ethan's usual smirk softened into a smile tinged with respect. We messed up, he admitted, quietly. We thought you were just. He trailed off, unsure how to finish the thought. Just a woman, Mara suggested gently. Ethan nodded sheepishly. Mara's eyes softened. I could have made this harder. I could have shown you what happens when you make mistakes like that. But I didn't. You need to learn that strength isn't about proving yourself, it's about lifting others. That's what a team does. That's what life demands of us. There was silence, not awkward, but contemplative. A profound realization settled over the 4 recruits, more powerful than any drill instructor's shouting, more impactful than any punishment they had endured. Days later, the incident in the mess hall became a quiet legend among their peers. The 4 recruits weren't boasting about Mara's identity. Instead, they carried the lesson with them: kindness, patience, and the courage to uplift others. Slowly, they began helping other recruits, mentoring those struggling, leading not through fear but through understanding. And Mara, she watched from a distance, proud not for herself but for the seeds she had planted. Her act of compassion, delivered in under a minute, had transformed 4 lives. They would remember her, not just as a Navy SEAL, but as a human being who embodied the power of selflessness. Months later, during a joint exercise, Ethan fell badly during a rigorous climb, scraping and bruising himself in front of the entire team. Panic surged momentarily through the recruits, but then, 4 hands, Jordan, Malik, Connor, and the recovering Ethan himself, reached to help one another, steadying, encouraging, lifting. The lesson Mara had imparted had taken root. They understood that strength without humanity was hollow. In the quiet moments after the exercise, Connor remarked, "Do you think we'd even make it this far without her?" Malik shook his head. "I don't think we'd even recognize what real strength is." Ethan, usually the loudest, simply nodded. "She taught us more than any manual ever could. Not about fighting, about life." And somewhere in the distant corners of the base, Mara observed them, invisible yet present, a small, proud smile playing across her lips. She knew her mission had extended beyond combat, beyond physical tests, into something far more enduring: the human spirit. The lesson of those 46 seconds remained: strength is measured not by power over others, but by the courage to uplift, the grace to guide, and the compassion to transform lives. Years later, those 4 recruits would each carry that memory with them, shaping the soldiers, leaders, and human beings they became. And somewhere, in the quiet heroism of one woman's actions, the ripple of kindness spread wider than anyone could imagine, reminding the world that even in the harshest environments, humanity and compassion remain the most formidable forces of all.